This episode of SpectreSoundStudios is brought to you by DistroKid. Get your music online to over 150 different sources.
Crumbs balls, it's episode 84 of SMG Viewers Comments. Let's get right to it.
Man, when I was still a beginner and was allowed to use someone else's Valve amp, I was thankful and excited as fuck. What happened?
Well, I could say fucking millennials and their fucking sense of entitlement, but that'd be bullshit because not everybody's like that. Some people just, get so obsessed that they paid money for something they, expect it's going to be great in the studio, and that's just not always the case. Generally, when I was recording when I was really young, I knew I had a shit amp. I had like an 85-watt Gorilla. I know it sucked, and I was smart enough to know it sucked. So if I had a chance to record on somebody's amp that was better, I took that chance, and yeah, always appreciated that. So, I don't know, you kids at home who've got the Line 6 Spiders who think they're going to be great in the studio, yeah, knock that shit off. You'll do yourself a lot more favors if you just listen to someone with maybe a little more experience.
You've never talked about processing vocals. Do it. Big fan. I've watched every episode.
Hey, Chino, thanks so much for watching. I'm happy to answer your question. Truth is, I don't process vocals very much. I mean, like, I've got my little mic up here. That goes into a distressor. I might, use a slight bit of EQ and a little bit of noise reduction. That's for my monologues anyway. When it comes to vocal processing in a mix, I've got one rule: no reverb. I always use delay instead. That keeps the vocals forward instead of putting them back into a space. But again, I track with a distressor on the way in because it's very forgiving. You can ride it really hard and it doesn't fuck up your sound at all. Warren Hewitt had a good trick there too, where he was using a combination of a DBX 160 and an 1176 to compress on the way in, whereas the 160 set for like a 2-to-1, 3-to-1 ratio, maybe even 4-to-1, just to kind of smooth things out a little bit. And then the 1176 is set for like 20-to-1, and that's to slam down on the peaks. Really clever way of doing things, actually. But in here, yeah, I just use a distressor and very little EQ. It all comes to mic placement for me. Here's a really cool trick, though, I use, and I've had all kinds of success with this. If you're layering vocal harmonies, make the vocalist step back from the mic. If you've got 2 harmonies, they can step back 2 feet. If you're adding even more harmonies, put them back further. I've had situations where we're layering harmony on harmony on harmony, and I've had vocals as far back as 10 feet from the mic. And then when you just push the faders up, everything falls into place. You don't have to fuck with anything. It's a fantastic way to do it. I suggest trying it out.
Hentai is life, lol. I've never seen hentai before.
Bullshit alert! Liar, liar, leather pants on fire! Now, I'm not a hentai fan at all. That's definitely TJ's department, but I have seen one film which was pretty good, though. It was called The Legend of the Overfiend, and I think that's where all this stuff got started, was way back in. That actually had a really good story in it, besides all the gross tentacle shit. But yeah, the story was outstanding. If you've got a strong stomach, I highly recommend checking it out.
Probably a dumb question, but would it be possible for someone to design a mic that does work when cupped? Then these numbnuts could have their fun and not bother the engineer.
Ask and you shall receive. There's a mic out there. It's called the Heil PR35. We reviewed it last year. The video is called Idiot Proof Microphone, and it's absolutely fantastic. Bob Heil is a mad genius. What he did was he designed it so the ports that turn the mic into a cardioid will actually be behind your hand, and they're impossible to cover unless you're like, you got giant freaking Hulk hands and you can get around. It's absolutely flawless, and we put it through its test, and uncupped, it sounds really good, especially compared to a typical vocal mic like, say, an SM58. It pretty much destroys it, especially when it's cupped. Highly recommend checking it out. They're a little more money than an SM58, but definitely worth the extra bucks. This episode of SMG Viewers Comments is brought to you by DistroKid. DistroKid is the service that puts your music online to multiple retailers and saves you the hassle. They'll put your songs up on the majors like iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, and Spotify, sometimes within hours, plus over 150 smaller online music retailers as well. DistroKid is what I use personally to distribute my music, and it's been a huge help. My channel's theme song, The Eagle Has Landed, is distributed through DistroKid, as well as that animated cover I did a while back, Moon on the Water. You guys remember that one? DistroKid got me my license and saved me a whole bunch of headaches. It only costs $20 a year, and you keep 100% of your earnings. If you follow the link in the description below, you can get a 7% discount. Check it out at distrokid.com/VIP/Spectre.
I'm sorry to say, but I really don't enjoy TJ.
Whoa. You're not enjoying TJ. What? Do we need to tell him to put more pineapple in his diet?
Is it easier for me to play rim shots if I place my snare higher?
Yes, yes it is. If you raise up your snare and flatten it out, yes, you will be able to play rim shots much, much easier. You'll get much more control. You'll be able to control your angle. Yes, just freaking do it, absolutely. And then raise your hi-hat to coincide with that. And raise your throne up too, because chances are you're sitting too low with that. And when it comes to throne height, TJ is actually going to do a video and explain it all to you guys, how it works with posture and how it works with proper foot technique.
What is a summing mixer?
Summing mixer is basically a mixer board without the faders. When the first digital workstations came along, a lot of people thought they sounded crispy and hollow and not warm, whatever the fuck that means. Basically what would happen is all your channels go into what's called a summing bus. So you take your 24 channels or 36 or however many you had, and they go into a summing bus, which would sum that to 2 channels. What you can do nowadays is, I know Dangerous makes something called a 2 bus, and there's a couple other products out there where you can take digital outputs out of your DAW, like 8 or 16 channels or whatnot, and you can plug them into an analog summing bus, and that'll color the tone in a way that many people find pleasing. I know there's one that's you can actually hook up like a high quality mic preamp to and let that become your summing bus. So if you say you got a pair of like Neve 1272s like my Vintech or some 1073s like my Great River, you can use those for coloration as well. I've thought about it and I don't know how much it's really worth the effort, but it might be cool to try out. Definitely an expensive way of doing things though.
Looking at buying a Focusrite for recording in my room. Should I go with FireWire or USB? Is there really a difference?
Not really. It's all just ones and zeros. The problem with FireWire is it's not really supported anymore. It's not being put into new machines. FireWire is kind of a dead format at this point, which is unfortunate because I love my Fireface 800. But if I was going with a Focusrite, I'd definitely go USB 2.0, USB 3.0. And if you're a Mac guy, they're coming up with the new Thunderbolt interfaces as well, and those look really promising. I'm not sure what's going on with Thunderbolt on PC. Maybe you guys can chime in a little bit and help clue us in. From what I understand, yeah, Thunderbolt's going to be quite the interface.
I think mic position could have a huge impact on these tones as well. From personal experience, just millimeters of difference is huge. I personally would go expensive head, cheap cab. At least the cheap cab, you can swap out V30s or creambacks either one or at a time or together in the future. The head, on the other hand, well, you can't make modifications so easily.
That's an extremely well thought out observation. You are absolutely correct on all points. Yes, moving a microphone a few millimeters at a time can have huge impact on your guitar tone. That's why I recommend getting yourself a Dynamount, and you can just you can sit in your mix position and dial in your guitar tone in just tiny increments and get the absolute best tone you possibly can out of your cabinet. But I also really like the idea of buying 1 or 2 or 4 speakers to swap out in your cabinet. You can use what's called the X pattern technique, say leave 2 of the original speakers and buy 2 vintage 30s. Just make sure that they're all the same impedance.
Did anyone notice TJ's using the wrong side of the drumsticks?
Harrison Bortz, everybody.
Hey, did you just say my name?
No, my drummer is also named Bortz. Seriously though, did anybody ever notice that guitar players will say the most inane, dumbass things ever in a sad attempt to sound witty? Dude, seriously, what you're missing there is something called butt end technique. That's where you take the snare stick and flip it around for a much more powerful impact on the drum. This is something I picked up from Tommy Harden, who is Reba McEntire's drummer. Never turned down good advice, no matter the source, by the way. This is actually a common technique used by guys like Nick Menza. If you check out the Megadeth Holy Wars video, he's playing butt end style on the snare. And same with Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater. In fact, there are even a set of drumsticks you can get from Los Cabos called the Shotguns, which have no tip. It's just butt end all the way around, and it's got a much more powerful sound. It's something I really like. You can really lay into a snare drum and get it to crack with a butt end and a rim shot. It's just a magnificent way to record. TJ's worked very hard on his technique for that, and I think he makes the snare sound great that way. For more information, you can check out my How to Record Heavy Drums videos. We did explore that whole technique a little bit more in that.
I know you fucking hate Line 6, but what is your opinion about the Line 6 Helix?
I really have no opinion. It might be good, it might not be. I haven't tried it yet. I'm not exactly gonna, hold my breath and wait for Line 6 to send me one, I'm sure of that. Truth of the matter is, I can honestly say this, I am not a fan of the Spider series, and I'm not a fan of the pods either. But the rest of the Line 6 equipment, I can't say too much about. I've heard some good things about the wireless, and I've heard some good things about their vintage 30 cab, and possibly the tube hybrid amp they did with Bogner, I heard was pretty good as well. I think Dave Mustaine actually was playing one for a couple of years. That being said, the Helix, if I get one come through the studio at some point, yes, I will give it a fair shake. I'm not going to have some preconceived notion about it. I'm always about giving gear a fair shake, but I think if it sounds bad, it should be treated as such. The one thing I did get to check out at NAMM, which is a competing piece of gear called the Head Rush. That's being put out by the same company that owns Alesis, and I got to try that out. It was a noisy environment, but I really like the customizability, and apparently we're going to be able to load custom impulses into it. That might be a viable alternative. From what I saw, it looked pretty cool. I know they got a little preview video with Sarah Longfield playing, but the jury's out. We'll have to see how it sounds.
Just subbed. Possibly the best video I've come across this week. Actually, definitely the best video I've seen this week.
Fantastic, man. Thank you so much for coming on board. Glad we could be of help. Like I said, I'm going to remind you guys one more time, if you haven't subscribed, please do. And if you have subscribed, please hit the bell next to the subscription button so you will continue to get notifications when new videos come out. We're very slowly but surely clawing our way up to 200,000 subscribers, and we've got an amazing giveaway that's going to happen when we hit that number. I can't wait to show you guys what that's going to be about. In the meantime, if you want to support the channel, please visit the SpectreMedia.ca shop. We've got all kinds of cool designs, including this brand new one for Fearless Gear Reviews. This is done by the very talented Jared Cruiser. As you can see, it's a silhouette of me and TJ and what's left of that Line 6 Spider Mark V. We've also got some really cool hats in stock, including Nobody Cares You're Offended. Rule number 2, your bass player's a useless cunt. The time-honored favorite. And what else we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4. This hat's smarter than your drummer. We've also got Stop Cupping the Mic, Dumbass. I actually gave that one away. That went in the mail there a couple days ago. All right, that's it for this episode. Have a great weekend, everybody. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this episode. If you like the content, please support the channel either at my SMG shop or through my Patreon. If you want to see more, hit one of the playlists. Thanks for watching. I'm out of here.